I pulled him back with everything I had, but sometimes I wonder if he was already gone. That kid, he looked right through me, like he wasn't even there anymore. My name's Carl Dwyer. I'm 64 years old, retired search and rescue, born and raised in Boulder, Colorado. Still live here. Can't imagine being anywhere else. These mountains, they raised me, fed me, hurt me, saved me in ways I probably didn't deserve. I did SAR work for close to 32 years. Started off when I was just 22. Wasn't looking for glory or anything like that. I just needed to do something that mattered. Something that wasn't behind a desk. My uncle was in it, and he brought me along on a few trainings when I was young. I was hooked, not by the action. That's what folks on the outside think. They think it's about the adrenaline. But nah. It was the silence after. The moment someone holds your arm and says, "Thank you," without even looking you in the eyes. That stays with a man. I've done it all. Snow extractions, hikers lost in the forest, folks stuck in riverbeds, some with broken bones, some not breathing. I've seen faces of people who thought they were gonna die. I've seen relief. I've seen confusion. I've seen death, too. Sometimes all in the same day. The thing about search and rescue, it don't care who you are. Rich, poor, young, old. Up there, everyone's just human. Cold, scared, and human. And I was one of the guys who went to bring 'em home. Now don't get me wrong. I ain't no hero. I've made mistakes. Hell, some days I still wonder if I did more harm than good. But I tried. Every damn day I tried. I've been retired about 8 years now. Still get up early. Habit, I guess. Still check the weather like I'm headed out. Wife laughs about it. Says I'm gonna check the mountain before I check the coffee pot. She's probably right. Most of the guys I worked with are out too. A few still in. We keep in touch, share old stories when we can. But some things I've never shared. Not even with them. Not even with my own boy. There was one call, one that's never left me. And I don't mean just a bad one. We've all had those. I mean, this one stuck. Got under my skin and never crawled back out. It wasn't the hardest rescue I've ever done. Not technically. But it was the one that made me question everything I thought I knew about this job. About people. About what we're really saving when we show up. It happened up in the Rockies, somewhere near Long's Peak. Beautiful place if you don't look too close at what it can do to a man. The kind of place that makes you feel small, but in a good way. Or a scary way, depending on the day. I'd been working that region for over 20 years by then. Knew it like the back of my hand. Could tell you which rocks rolled under your boot and which ones held firm. Could smell when a storm was coming before the radio said a word. So when that call came in, I knew it was bad before they even finished the sentence. Young guy, solo hiker, hadn't checked in with his folks. Last ping on his phone came from a sketchy spot near the cliffs. Wind was picking up. No sign of movement. We get calls like that all the time. Most of them end all right. Maybe a busted ankle, maybe just someone who wandered too far. But this one felt different. I can't tell you why. Just did. I remember my hands shaking a little when I packed up. Not fear. Just this tension. Like something was out of place before I even left the base. The drive up was quiet. My partner Joe was with me. Solid guy, 15 years younger, tough as nails. We didn't talk much, didn't need to. Out here you learn to listen to the quiet, and the thing is, when I close my eyes now, I don't see the cliff or the ropes or even the kid's face right away. I see that damn radio light blinking. Green. Waiting. Just sitting there like it knew something I didn't. There's a weight in this kind of work that nobody trains you for. Sure, they teach you knots, anchor points, rappelling, all that technical stuff. But they don't teach you what to do when you pull someone up and they look at you like they wish you hadn't. They don't teach you how to live with that. Most of my life I was proud of what I did. Still am, in a way. But that day left a crack in me, one I never quite sealed. I've seen death. But this was something different. It was like meeting someone on the edge, literally and otherwise, and realizing maybe, just maybe, they'd already made their choice. I think about that kid more than I should. Still hear the wind that day. Still feel the pull on the rope. And sometimes, late at night, I wonder if I saved him, or just delayed what was already in motion. That's why I'm talking now. 'Cause maybe someone out there's been on that same ledge, or knows someone who has, and maybe hearing this, maybe it makes them reach out. I don't know. I just know I've carried this for too long, and I need to lay it down. You know, folks think search and rescue is all helicopters and hero moments, but most days, it's waiting. Waiting and watching the weather, checking your gear 3-4 times, drinking bad coffee from a plastic thermos at 5 a.m. while your boots steam from yesterday's mud. That's the part people don't see. And truth is, that's where you really get shaped. Not in the rescues, but in the rhythm, the routine, the way you learn to sit in that silence and be ready, just in case the radio crackles. Back in those days, I worked mostly the northern range, up near Estes, around Rocky Mountain National Park. We were based out of Boulder, but went wherever we were needed. A lot of the guys on the team were local. Tough folks. Knew the land like they knew their own skin. Some had degrees in wilderness medicine or climbing certs, but a lot of us just had years out there. That's the kind of training you can't buy. We'd get a call maybe twice a week in the busy seasons, summer mostly, when the trails got crowded. And then come winter, the snow would cut things down, but that brought its own kind of trouble. Avalanche season was no joke. You'd learn real fast who you could trust when your own feet weren't sure of the ground. I remember my first real call like it was yesterday. Kid had wandered off a marked trail, middle of September, still warm down in the city, but up top it was snowing. Took us 13 hours to get to him. Found him shivering behind a rock, too cold to even cry. Just blinked at us. That was my first taste of what we really did. We didn't save people from danger. We saved them from being forgotten. And then you do it again, and again. And after a while, you stop counting. Not because you don't care, but because it starts to blur. Faces fade, coordinates change, but you always remember the feeling. That moment right before you see them. That hold your breath second when you don't know what you're walking into. That feeling, that never changes. We didn't work with big budgets. A lot of our equipment was donated or patched together. We made do. We always made do. You learn to respect your gear, treat it like part of your body. Your harness, your rope. You trust those things more than you trust your own knees after 40. And the crew, well, that was your lifeline. We weren't just co-workers. We were the ones who'd haul each other off a slope if things went south. You watch someone dangle over a cliff with just a rope between you, and it changes how you see him. Joe, my usual partner, he and I barely talked most days. But up there, we were one brain, one breath. That kind of bond don't go away. There were funny days too. Don't let me paint it all grim. We had laughs, like the time we found a hiker trying to cook trout in a boot 'cause he lost his pan. Or the couple who thought they were on a spiritual path, but ended up 3 miles off trail, arguing about who forgot the granola. Humans are messy, and sometimes you need that kind of stupid to keep your own sanity. But even on the good days, there was always that edge. You kept your bag packed like a firefighter, ready to move in 5 minutes. You didn't drink too much. Didn't make plans you couldn't break. 'Cause when that call came, you dropped everything. Birthdays, barbecues, sleep, didn't matter. Somebody was out there counting on you, whether they knew it or not. I missed a lot. My boys' first school play, my wife's promotion dinner, some holidays. I'd be lying if I said that didn't wear on things. This job, it doesn't stay at the station. It climbs inside you, sticks around when you're trying to be a husband, a dad. You go out to eat and catch yourself checking the weather. You hear sirens and your stomach knots, and the ones you couldn't save, yeah, you carry those. We had a logbook back at base. Every mission, every detail. But there was another kind of log we didn't write down. The stuff we saw in their eyes. The stuff we brought home in the soles of our boots. You get used to seeing people in their worst moments. That's the job. Folks who are freezing, bleeding, lost, sometimes angry, sometimes embarrassed. You learn not to judge. You just kneel down and say, "You're all right now. We got you." And sometimes they believe you. But I'll tell you what, it's not always about what happened to them. Sometimes it's about why they went up there in the first place. A lot of folks go hiking thinking they're just getting fresh air. But some are running from something, or towards something. We felt that. You could tell by the way they looked at the horizon. That's what I started paying attention to after a few years. Not just where they were, but who they were when we found them. Some were grateful, some were ashamed, some didn't say a word. And me? I didn't ask. Wasn't my place. I was just the guy with the rope. But looking back, maybe I should have asked more. Maybe I should have seen what was behind the silence. 'Cause sometimes the body survives, but the rest of them doesn't come back. I think that's what made that one rescue different. The one I'm talking about today. 'Cause I looked into that kid's face and I didn't see fear. I didn't see relief. I saw nothing. And that's what I've been trying to forget all these years. It was early September, one of those in-between days, still warm in town, but you could feel the change coming. Trees up high already showing yellow. Air gets that dry bite to it like it's holding back snow. I'd been up since before dawn, like always, messing around in the garage, oiling rope, checking buckles even though I didn't need to anymore. Old habits die slow. That's when the call came. It wasn't through dispatch, not at first. It was a text from Joe, my old partner. "You hear about the kid up near Long's?" I hadn't. I turned on the radio, then the scanner. Static, couple of pings, then one voice. Local ranger out of Estes, saying they had a solo hiker overdue. Name was Trevor, 25. From Fort Collins. Left 2 days earlier, told his sister he'd be doing the Keyhole route. She hadn't heard from him since. Now look, that trail, it's no joke. You mess around up there after noon and you're begging for weather to pin you. Steep, slick, narrow, and if you don't know where the wind cuts, you're in trouble. Fast. I called Joe back. "You going up?" He said, "They're short-staffed. One guy's out with a busted ankle. The other's covering wildfire duty down south. They want us if we're up for it." I didn't even think. "I'll meet you in an hour." Told my wife I was heading out. She gave me that look, the one where she wants to argue but doesn't. We'd been through this too many times. She just said, "Be safe," and handed me a sandwich she knew I probably wouldn't eat. We met at the trailhead. Old gear, same packs we used 100 times. Didn't need much talking. Forecast showed a front pushing in, wind gusts in the afternoon, some light rain possible. Nothing deadly yet, but that high up, light rain could turn to sleet real damn quick. Rangers had done a brief recon from a lookout earlier that morning. They'd spotted something. Looked like a jacket caught on rock, maybe 60 feet below the ledge that runs near the Narrows. Too steep to reach without gear, no movement. That's when the weight hits you. You hear "no movement," and your stomach just sinks, but you don't say it out loud, not yet. You keep moving, like you can still outrun the thought. We started climbing around 9 a.m. Trail was dry, thank God. Quiet. Few squirrels, wind rustling through the trees. Once you pass tree line, though, everything gets still. Not peaceful, just heavy, like the mountains watching. We made it to the overlook by 1 p.m., took out the scopes, scanned the cliff, and there he was. At first we couldn't believe it. The kid was still there, not a jacket caught on rock. It was him. Perched on this thin, damn ledge, body turned inward, head down, arms hugging the wall, like he was trying to disappear into it. Joe muttered, "Jesus." He wasn't moving, not even flinching with the wind. We waved, shouted, nothing. I tried the loudspeaker we had in the bag. "Trevor, this is search and rescue. Stay where you are." Still nothing. But he was upright. That meant he was alive, or had been, real recent. We set anchors, ropes ready, no chopper, too much gust, no room to hover. This had to be on foot, and I remember thinking, right then, why didn't he call? Why didn't he move? Something wasn't right. This wasn't a twisted ankle or someone who got turned around. He stayed there, for hours, maybe a whole day, in that spot. When I clipped in and started lowering, I felt it in my bones. This wasn't just a rescue. This was something else. The wind picked up fast as I went down. Not dangerous yet, but enough to make the rope sway. My gloves were tight, palms sweating. I could hear my own breath in my ears, loud over the mountain's hush. That kind of quiet you only get up there. The kind that makes you feel like your voice don't belong. I got about 10 feet from him and stopped. He still hadn't looked up. His back was to me, shoulder blades poking through his jacket like wings. I called out again, softer this time. "Hey, buddy, I'm Carl. I'm here to help, all right?" He flinched, just a little, then turned his head, slow, and I'll never forget his face. Not scared, not angry, just gone. His eyes were looking at me, but not at me. You ever seen someone look through you? Like they were trying to see past your face to something behind you that wasn't even there? That's what he did. I said, "I'm gonna get you out of here, all right? We gotcha. You're not alone." No response. I reached the ledge anchored in beside him, crouched down, careful not to spook him. He didn't move, just kept staring. I hooked the harness under his arms. "This might be a little tight. Just hold on." Still no words, not a sound. And then, just before we started moving, he said it. Quiet, almost like he wasn't talking to me. I didn't want him to find me. That's it. 6 words. Didn't know what to do with that. Still don't. I said, "Well, they did. And now we're getting you home." He didn't nod, didn't argue. I gave Joe the signal. We started lifting. And I swear to God, the whole way up I kept thinking, did I just pull this kid away from something? Or back into something worse? That question's been in my head ever since. I've rappelled off cliffs more times than I can count. Big ones, little ones. Middle of the night, middle of blizzards. But that drop, that one felt different. Not because it was the tallest, not even the most dangerous. It was just quiet. Too damn quiet. Joe and I set up anchors about 20 yards from the edge. Solid rock, no give. We double-checked each other's knots like always. You never get cocky with that part. I'd seen a guy skip one check once, just once, didn't walk away. The wind was changing. You could feel it in your teeth. Cold air coming from the west, low and steady. That kind of wind that doesn't shout, just presses into you like a warning. Joe said, "We've got maybe 40 minutes, tops, before it turns." I nodded. That was enough time. Had to be. I looked over the edge, down at Trevor, still crouched on that narrow ledge, maybe 10 inches wide. Just rock beneath his boots, sheer drop behind him. 60, 70 feet of nothing. And he wasn't holding on to anything. Just sitting there, like he was taking a break. Except he wasn't taking a break. He wasn't doing anything. Just waiting. I clipped in, gave Joe the signal, and started my descent. The rope felt stiff. Cold weather'll do that, and my shoulders were already tight from the hike up. But none of that mattered. My eyes were locked on the kid. Every foot I went down, I kept thinking, don't spook him, don't surprise him. Last thing I needed was for him to panic and shift his weight. When I got to about 10 feet above him, I stopped and just hung there a second. Took him in. He looked small, real small. Jacket 2 sizes too big, like he'd borrowed it from somebody. Dark green, dirt smudges all over. Hood was down, hair flat and wet, face pale, real pale. I said, "Hey there, name's Carl. I'm coming to you slow, all right? Nothing's gonna happen fast." No reaction. That's when it hit me. He wasn't just frozen from the cold. He was gone somewhere inside his own head. Deep. And that's when it gets tricky. You can't just grab a guy like that. You gotta meet him halfway, even if he ain't moving. I eased down, boots against the wall, and landed beside him. It was tight. Real tight. One bad step and we both go over. He still didn't look at me. I said again, "I'm here to help, all right? You're not in trouble. Just want to get you out of this wind." He blinked. That was it. Didn't nod, didn't flinch, just blinked. I glanced at his hands. Fingers were red, raw, dirt under the nails. No gloves, no pack, no water bottle. just that oversized jacket and jeans that were stiff from the cold. This kid had been sitting here a long time. I reached out slow, took his wrist, cold as hell, but he didn't pull away. That's when I saw the scrape on the side of his face. Not fresh, couple days old, like he'd taken a spill, maybe when he first slipped onto the ledge, and he still hadn't said a word. I started setting up his harness. He didn't fight it, didn't help either. Just let me do it like I was dressing a mannequin. That kind of passiveness, that's not normal, not fear, not shock. That's someone who's already given up. And that scared the hell out of me. When I finally clipped him in, I gave Joe the signal to start the haul. I wrapped my arm around Trevor's chest, kept us both tight against the wall. Every few feet I'd whisper, "You're doing good. Just a little more." Still nothing. Halfway up, the wind hit us hard, came in fast, a wall of air that slapped the rope, swung us a little. I anchored with my feet, gritted my teeth, pulled him in closer. He didn't even react, not a flinch. Most people in that situation, they grab you, they cry, they scream, they hold on like their life depends on it. 'Cause it does. Trevor, he was limp, like he didn't care what happened. By the time we reached the top, my arms were shot. Joe pulled us the last few feet and grabbed the kid under the shoulders, dragged him clear of the ledge. We laid him down on the rock, checked his pulse, his eyes, his breathing. All there. Physically, he was okay, dehydrated, chilled, exhausted, but okay. And then came the question you always ask, the one they train you to ask, every single time. "What's your name?" He didn't answer. Joe tried again. "Hey man, you hear us? What's your name?" Finally, after a long pause, he whispered, "Trevor." Joe gave me a look. I just nodded. At least he was still in there. Somewhere. But then Trevor turned to me, real slow, and said that thing I'll never forget. I wasn't supposed to be found. Like that. Just flat. No anger, no fear, just a fact. And in that second, the whole rescue changed. It wasn't about a lost hiker anymore. It was about a kid who went up a mountain hoping not to come back down. That'll mess with your head. We wrapped him in foil, gave him warm fluids, radioed for evac. They sent a ranger truck to meet us a couple miles down. Took us hours to walk him out. He barely spoke. Didn't ask where we were going. Didn't thank us. Just stared at the trail like it was a conveyor belt he couldn't get off. I've rescued a lot of people. And almost all of them, even the hurt ones. They show something. A spark, a will, a panic, something. But Trevor? He gave us nothing. And when that happens, when you pull a body up that still breathes, but the soul feels like it stayed behind, you start wondering what the hell you actually saved. I've hauled folks out of some damn tight spots in my day. People with busted legs, heat stroke, hypothermia, you name it. Some screaming for help, some so out of it they didn't even know we were there. But Trevor was different. It wasn't just that he didn't speak much. I've seen shock shut folks down plenty. It was the way he didn't care. Like nothing about that moment mattered to him. Not the rescue, not us, not even the fact that he was still alive. And that's what got under my skin. When we got him secured to the rope, I double-checked every buckle, every loop. Normally, I'm all business in those moments. Years of muscle memory kick in. But that time, my hands were steady, but my chest felt tight. Like I was tying down a ghost. He didn't say a word the whole time I worked the harness. I remember adjusting the chest strap and he just sat there, looking down at his boots like they weren't even his. I said, "You all right if I cinch this tighter?" No nod, no blink. Just sat there. Joe was up top, ready to start the pull. I radioed, gave the go-ahead, and wrapped my arm around the kid's back. We weren't rappelling now. This was a straight haul, dead weight. I mean that in the literal sense, not as a dig. Trevor wasn't resisting, but he wasn't helping either. You can tell a lot about someone when you're on a rope with them. The way they shift their weight, the way they breathe, how their body responds when the rock kicks back wind at you. Most folks cling. It's instinct. Even unconscious people. They hold tension in the body. Muscles stay ready, like their system still wants to survive. But Trevor, he was loose, not limp, not unconscious, just loose, like his body didn't care what happened next. That scared me more than any drop, any storm I've ever faced. As we started going up, I kept talking to him. I always do. It's not just for the subject. It keeps me grounded too. Keeps me focused. You're doing fine, bud. Just a few more feet. Rope's good. Weather's holding. Still nothing. At one point, a gust hit us hard, strong enough to swing us about a foot out from the wall. I braced with my legs, felt his weight shift against mine. Any other time, the guy would have grabbed me, tightened up, reacted somehow. Trevor just swayed with it, like a tree branch that don't care if it snaps. That's when I looked straight into his face. He wasn't afraid, wasn't frozen. He was calm, too calm, eyes wide open, mouth relaxed. And then, for just a second, he looked at me. Not through me this time, at me. And he said, "You should have let me fall." Just like that, quiet, flat. I almost lost grip right then. Not because of what he said, but how he said it. Not angry, not desperate, just like he was stating a fact. I didn't answer. What the hell do you say to that mid-rescue? I held on tighter. Not today, Trevor. I finally muttered. Not today. He didn't say anything else. We reached the top a few minutes later. Joe pulled the last few feet, helped me get Trevor back on solid ground. I unhooked the gear, checked his vitals again. Skin was cold, but not hypothermic. Pulse a little slow, but steady. No signs of trauma beyond some scrapes and early dehydration. He was physically fine, but that didn't mean a damn thing. We gave him water, wrapped him in a blanket. Joe tried to ask him basic questions. You hurt anywhere? When did you eat last? Do you know what day it is? Trevor just kept staring at the dirt, like it was more real than us. Eventually, I crouched down in front of him, looked him in the eye. Why'd you go up there alone? He didn't speak. I didn't push. Not my job to dig. My job was to bring him back. And that's the part I keep wrestling with. Back to what? We got him on his feet. Slow. Walked the first half mile with arms under his shoulders. He didn't resist. Didn't complain. Just walked like he didn't care where the trail led. Every now and then he'd glance up at the sky. Not quick. Not like he was checking weather. Just like he was listening for something. Rangers met us near the halfway point. They took over, loaded him into the ATV, said they'd take him straight to the ranger station, then probably to the hospital for eval. Standard procedure. He didn't say goodbye, didn't say thank you. He just looked back at the trail, nodded at us, and said real low. It was supposed to be quiet, and that was it. Me and Joe hiked back in silence. Both of us were chewing on the same thing, but neither wanted to say it. Not yet. When we got back to the truck, Joe finally broke the quiet. Think he'll be all right? I said. I don't know. 'Cause I didn't, still don't. And the truth is, that's what haunts me. Not the rescue itself. Not the rope work or the ledge or the cold. We've dealt with all that 100 times. It's what I don't know. It's wondering what Trevor was carrying when he walked up that mountain. What made him stop on that ledge? What made him stay? And most of all, what he saw, or didn't see, when he looked into my face and said I should have let him fall. That look, I still see it when I close my eyes. We got back to base that night around 10. Tired, quiet. You know that kind of quiet that don't come from your mouth, but from somewhere behind your ribs? That was us. Joe sat in the truck for a while. Didn't even turn the key. Just stared out the windshield. I didn't push him. I just sat next to him, drinking cold coffee I found in my pack, like it was gonna fix anything. Finally, he said, "What do you think happens to a kid like that?" I didn't answer right away. I just said, "I don't know." And I didn't. Still don't. We filed the report. Standard stuff. Timeline, coordinates, conditions, subject's condition, actions taken. You get good at writing those things. Facts only. Nothing personal. But that night, when I typed his name, Trevor, I just sat there looking at the screen. Something about putting his name down in black and white made it feel like it was over, but I knew damn well it wasn't. Couple days later, I called the ranger station to follow up. They said Trevor was released from the hospital that same night. Said he was stable, quiet, but no signs of injury or immediate risk. They let him go. Didn't go back to Fort Collins. Didn't go back anywhere, far as I could tell. They gave me his sister's number. Said she was the one who reported him missing. I called her. Wasn't sure why. Guess I just wanted to hear from someone who knew him. She picked up, surprised. I told her who I was, what I did. She thanked me. Her voice cracked a little. Then she got real quiet. He's been struggling, she said, off and on, since last year. Said he just needed some time alone. I didn't know it'd be like that. I didn't ask what struggling meant. I knew. You don't need details when you've seen it in someone's eyes. I asked if she knew where he was now. She said he left again the morning after the rescue. Took a bag and disappeared. No note, no call, just gone. And that tore at me. 'Cause here's the truth nobody tells you when you do this job. Just 'cause you pull someone out doesn't mean they're coming back. Physically, yeah, you get them out alive. You do what you're trained to do. But there's stuff we can't reach, stuff no rope can touch. I kept thinking about that ledge, the way he was just sitting there, not by accident, not lost. He chose that spot. You know how many people go up those trails looking for answers? Looking to leave something behind, or looking to be left behind? More than you'd think. And Trevor, he wasn't lost. He was waiting. That's the part I can't shake. And the worst thing is, I don't know if I helped him, or just interrupted him. You replay it over and over in your head. The climb, the harness, the pull, those 6 damn words. You should have let me fall. You tell yourself maybe he didn't mean it. Maybe it was shock. Maybe it was just a moment, but you know, deep down, you know. And then you start asking yourself stuff you got no business asking. Like, did I save him? Or did I trap him? Did I do my job? Or just delay the inevitable? And no one's got an answer for that. Not the Rangers, not the doctors, not his sister, not me. I thought about him every day for months. Couldn't sleep. I'd wake up and see his face. Not scared, not angry, just empty. I started keeping my phone on at night just in case he called. He never did. I looked for his name online, hospital reports, news, obits. Nothing. Like he just faded out. My wife tried to help. She saw what it was doing to me. One night she said, "You did your part, Carl. You brought him back." And I just looked at her and said, "What if he didn't want to be back?" She didn't have an answer. Neither did I. The part that hurts the most. It ain't the climb. It ain't the cold. It ain't even the silence. It's the not knowing. That's the weight I carry. Not a body. A question. What happened to him after? Did he find peace? Did he find pain? Did he find anything? Or is he still out there, somewhere, sitting on another ledge, waiting for someone like me to come along again, and hoping this time we don't? And the worst part is, I ain't sure I'd stop him if I saw him again. That's the truth. You don't get trained for that. They teach you how to tie knots, how to splint a leg, how to haul a man off a mountain. But they don't teach you what to do when you bring someone back, and they never wanted to be here in the first place. They don't teach you how to live with that silence. You go through enough years in this line of work, you start collecting memories like scars. Some fade, some don't. But every once in a while, one of them grabs hold of you and doesn't let go. Trevor was that for me. I've pulled folks out of flash floods, snowdrifts, wildfire zones, and places where even God seemed to turn his back. I've stood over people I couldn't save, zipped up bags with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. And yeah, those stay with you. But Trevor, he's different. 'Cause he lived. And I still don't know if that was the right thing. The weeks after that rescue, I tried to let it go. I really did. Told myself we did our job. Told myself it wasn't my place to wonder what came next. But that's all I did. I wondered, constantly. I'd be driving to the store and find myself staring at the mountains, wondering if he was out there again, or sitting on my porch hearing the wind pick up over the ridge, and I'd see him, crouched on that ledge, coat flapping, eyes blank, that damn look. It's hard to explain to someone who ain't been there. It wasn't fear in his face. It wasn't pain. It was like the switch inside him had already been flipped, and the lights weren't coming back on. I told myself maybe I caught him in a bad moment. Maybe the rescue gave him a second chance. But that's just the kind of thing you say when you don't want the truth. And the truth is, I don't think he wanted to come back. That's what eats at me. I started dreaming about it. Same scene, over and over. I'm going down the rope, seeing him on that ledge. But every time I get close, he's gone. Just his jacket left behind. Or sometimes I get him clipped in, start pulling us up, and he slips right through the harness, like he was never solid in the first place. I'd wake up drenched in sweat, heart pounding, looking around the room like he might be standing there. My wife tried to help, but she didn't know what to say. How could she? I didn't know what I was feeling half the time. Guilt, confusion, sadness, all of it maybe. And what made it worse? I couldn't talk to the guys about it either. I mean, I could have. Joe for sure, but I didn't. We all got this unspoken rule. You don't let stuff get to you. Not too much anyway. You joke, you shrug it off, you bury it under another story. You don't show the cracks. But I was cracking. One afternoon I drove out to the same trailhead, don't know why. Maybe hoping to see him, maybe hoping to feel something shift. I just parked there and sat for 2 hours watching hikers come and go. Trevor wasn't one of them. I walked part of the trail, up to a spot where I could see the ledge. From that distance, it looked like any other chunk of rock. Nothing special, just part of the mountain. But I knew. I could still feel the rope in my gloves, still feel his weight against me, like it was yesterday. I stood there a long time, and then I sat down. Didn't cry, didn't talk, just sat. It hit me then, not just what happened that day, but what it meant. For me. See, I always thought rescuing people meant bringing them home, being the guy who shows up when all hope's gone and says, "You're not alone." But what if they want to be alone? What if home ain't a place they're looking for? That's the part nobody prepares you for. You can study maps, practice extractions, learn every knot in the book. But you can't train your heart to let go of a question like that. There were times I thought about calling his sister again, just to check in. But I didn't want to hear what I was afraid she'd say. Didn't want to know if he'd disappeared for good. Or worse, if he hadn't. Sounds messed up, I know. But when someone's carrying that much darkness, sometimes the scariest thing is finding out they're still out there, still hurting. And part of me felt like I failed him. I know that ain't fair. I did my job. I got him off the ledge, got him medical help, but I didn't reach him. Not really. I didn't break through whatever wall he'd built around himself. And I couldn't stop asking myself, what would have happened if I had just sat down next to him on that rock? No ropes, no orders, just two guys staring out at the sky, talking like human beings. Would he have opened up? Would it have changed anything? I'll never know. That's the part that keeps following me. Not just what I did, but what I didn't do. I started keeping a little notebook. Just stuff I think about, questions I can't shake. I don't show it to anyone, probably never will. But it helps, I guess. Sometimes I write down things I wish I'd said to him. Other times I write like I'm talking to him now. Where'd you go, kid? Did we buy you more time? Do you hate me for what I did? Maybe it's stupid. Maybe it's just a way to cope. But in a weird way, I feel like he's still with me. Not in some floaty, mystical way. I mean real. Like his silence left a mark I can't scrub off. And here's the truth. I think every SAR guy's got one. One person they brought back, but never really brought back. One they still see when the trail goes quiet. For me, that's Trevor. And I don't think he's ever leaving. I think about that rescue more than I probably should. And not just in flashes like some old memory floating in and out. I mean full on, middle of the night, sit up in bed kind of thinking. I see that cliff. I feel the rope in my hand. I hear the wind. And I see him, Trevor, sitting there like the mountain was the only place left where he made sense. I've asked myself every question a man can ask. Did I save him? Did I do the right thing? Was I even supposed to be there that day? There ain't answers. Not real ones. And that's the part no one tells you when you start this kind of work. They say you're a hero. They say you save lives. But they don't say what to do when the life you saved didn't want to be saved. That's a whole other kind of weight. I never talked much about this rescue. Not to the crew. Not to my wife. My boy don't even know it happened. It's just been sitting inside me all these years like a stone at the bottom of a creek. Smooth on the outside. Heavy as hell. And now, being retired, well, you got more time to sit with your ghosts. You can't outrun them anymore. No pager to distract you. No calls to take. Just you and whatever you ain't dealt with yet. And I guess this one came due. Sometimes I wonder if Trevor even remembers my face. Probably not. Maybe I was just another guy with rope and a helmet. Maybe I was the interruption he didn't ask for. But I remember his face. Clear as day. That blank stare. That sentence I keep hearing. You should have let me fall. I've said that line in my head 1,000 times. Tried to reframe it. Pretend he meant it different. But I know what I heard. And I know the tone. That wasn't a plea. That was a fact. And the part that hurts the most? I get it. I don't agree with it. But I get it. We don't talk about that much, especially not in my generation. We just tough it out. Head down, boots laced, move on. But everybody's carrying something. Some folks just carry more than they can hold. And up there, on that ledge, maybe Trevor just reached his limit. I don't blame him for that. I don't blame myself either, not anymore. Took me years to get there, but I still feel it. That's the difference. I don't carry guilt. I carry the weight of not knowing. See, there's a part of this job nobody ever puts in the manual. The part where you realize you can't fix people. You can patch them up, sure. Get them off the mountain. Get them into a hospital. But you can't reach whatever they're running from. I used to think a rescue was a clean thing. You find someone, you bring them back, you go home. Job well done. But sometime the body makes it home, and the rest of them never left that ledge. I've seen that look a few other times since. Not often, but enough to know Trevor wasn't alone. I've seen folks come back from a rescue, sit in the back of the rig and just stare. Not cry, not shake. Just sit there like they were in a place the rest of us couldn't get to. It stays with you. I think part of me's scared I missed something. Maybe if I'd said one more thing. Maybe if I'd sat down on that rock with him instead of just hooking him into a harness. Maybe if I'd let him talk or not talk or just be. But that's hindsight. And hindsight's a liar most days. We did what we were trained to do. Get him out alive. That's the mission. And we did it. But still, you start to wonder what alive really means. Is it breathing, walking, showing up to work? Or is it feeling something? Wanting to see another sunrise? I don't know. I really don't. And I think that's why I'm talking now. Not 'cause I've got answers. I don't. But maybe someone out there does. Maybe someone's been on that same ledge, thinking the same thing Trevor did. Maybe someone's carried someone off a ledge and felt what I felt. That's why I'm telling this story, to say it out loud, to finally stop carrying it alone. And maybe, just maybe, someone hears it and realizes they're not alone either. 'Cause that's what it all comes down to, don't it? We all end up on a ledge somewhere. And sometimes it ain't about ropes or rescues or saving lives. Sometimes it's about being seen. Just once. So Trevor, wherever you are, if somehow you're hearing this, I saw you, and I still do. You've listened to a long story. And if you're still here, maybe it hit something in you. Maybe you've been on that trail. Or know someone who has. Or maybe you just wanted to understand what it's really like on the other side of a rescue rope. I appreciate that. I really do. There's something I want you to know before we wrap this up. This job, This life I had for over 30 years. It's not about saving people from the mountain. It's about being there when no one else is. It's about showing up when the phone rings, even when you're dead tired and it's snowing sideways and you haven't seen your kid in a week. It's about looking someone in the eye, someone who's hurt or scared or just lost in their own head, and saying, "I got you." Not because you have all the answers, but because somebody's got to be there. And that's what I tried to be. That's what we all tried to be, the folks who did this work with me. Regular men and women, getting up early, staying late, risking our own necks sometimes, not for medals, not for praise, but for a shot at bringing someone home. But not every rescue ends with a hug and a photo. Sometimes, you pull someone out, and you're left holding more questions than you started with. Sometimes, you bring a person back, but they don't really come back. That's the kind of rescue that sticks with you. That's the kind that follows you into retirement. And that's why I wanted to sit here today. Not just to tell a story, but to say something real. If you're watching this and you've ever felt like Trevor, like the ledge was the only place where things made sense, I want you to hear me clear. You ain't alone. I don't care where you're from. I don't care how tough you think you gotta be. I don't care if the world feels too heavy right now. There's people out there, good people, who'll sit with you on that ledge, who won't rush you, who won't try to fix you, who'll just be there. And sometimes that's all it takes. Not a rescue, not a speech, just someone staying. I wish I'd known that back then. I wish I'd sat longer with Trevor. I wish I'd told him, "You don't gotta talk. You don't gotta move. I'm just gonna sit here for a while. If that's all right." Maybe it wouldn't have changed anything. Maybe it would have. But I think about it every day. And if you've got someone in your life who's going quiet, pull up a chair. Sit with them. You don't need to say the right thing. Just be there. You never know what that might mean to someone. And if you've ever done this kind of work, SAR, fire, EMS, law enforcement, and you're carrying one of these stories, you're not alone either. You can only carry so much on your own. I know. I tried, for years. But you gotta talk, or write, or sit with someone who won't flinch when you say the hard parts. That's why I'm here now, talking to you. 'Cause I couldn't carry Trevor by myself anymore. And if you're carrying someone like him, you shouldn't have to either. So yeah, maybe this ain't your typical rescue story. No dramatic ending, no high fives, no closure, really. But it's the truth. And I think the truth's worth telling. Before I go, I'll say this. If you've got a story like this, one that stayed with you, one you never told out loud, maybe now's the time. Maybe down there in the comments, or with someone in your life. Doesn't matter how you do it. Just let it out. You'd be surprised who's listening. Thanks for sitting with me through this. Really, it means more than I can say.